Now, there's no point in denying it. I haven't touched Star Citizen all week. You know what I've been doing. And there's no point in denying it. I have been having a good time. I have been having a really good time. But you're probably sitting there and you're saying, oh my God, you labeled this as a Star Citizen video. This is not Star Citizen. You are a prick. No. I'm going to get you there. Don't worry. I'm going to get you there in a second. We'll switch right back. But as the beginning of my journey completed, I came to a realization as I was kind of going, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do here? You know, transitioning from leveling to end game significantly alters your priorities. And one of the things that I realized in the very beginning was, oh my God, I am criminally low on hit rating. And that's something I got to fix, and I got to fix that fast, right? And you know, while discussing this with some people, there was, of course, the voice of like, oh, I hate that stuff. I don't know why that's in the game, and it ruined the game. And to me, that my feelings were exactly the opposite. Some people might flip out and say, oh, I've got to go and I got to look at all these dungeons and find all the gear. It's going to take hours to figure out how to put everything together. And I don't know, maybe I'm just mentally ill, but you know what?
I look forward to it.
One of the best features of any MMORPG or any single-player RPG is the ability to tinker with your character, to tinker with builds, to move stats around, to change performance from that kind of basic vanilla what is intended version, and to go and look for all these different possibilities, different ways that you can put things together. Do you want to make your constellation a tanky ship? Do you want to make it a much harder hitting, faster ship? Do you want to make it more maneuverable? All these different types of things. And when you think about the different scenarios that you can get in with a ship, you go, okay, these are the scenarios that I kind of want to focus on, so this is the way I'm going to build my ship. You might look at a ground vehicle and say, oh, I want to go with increased range or longer range weapons. And so you start to get into a system where you're tinkering with these things and you're looking for trade-offs here, there, and everywhere. And this is kind of one of the more interesting facets of Star Citizen that we really haven't seen develop. This is one of the areas where the game developers really haven't, I would say, really haven't done their utmost. And there is a defense in this regard. For CIG, you have to kind of understand that, you know, I think it was Yogi Klatt recently in the forums made a post where he was talking about the reasons why you don't see tremendous variety in terms of the weapons that you can buy or the shields, you know, that everything more or less kind of falls into three kind of performance categories, and then it all ultimately, you know, just kind of hangs out at that space. And nothing really changes all that much. And it's a balancing reason. They basically have these three kind of envelopes that everything kind of fits into. And ultimately, it's not going to change anytime soon because they use it to make, or they do it that way to make it easier to balance the game or to test things. We have these certain knowns and we don't really alter them. Now, at different points in the history of Star Citizen, we've heard about subcomponents and things like that, things to alter the performance of different facets of our vehicles, our equipment, possibly even. But this has never materialized, and that's probably half the reason why this hasn't kind of come together. That, and I think that had there been, or if there is going to be subcomponent manipulation in Squadron 42, you'd probably be more likely to see it. But since we're still talking about very basic foundational things, it really hasn't left the ground. They have some theoretical work done, and they've shown that to us years ago, but they really haven't moved the ball down the field since. And you can see why they haven't done it yet, but at the same time, I think we can all agree that we're all just kind of sitting here with our arms crossed, tapping our foot, and just kind of going, when? Right? And that is also legitimate as well. Because, you know, it is what it is. And we can certainly get into a bit of a rant video about Squadron 42 very easily. But ultimately, it is what it is. But this is the part of Star Citizen that I really have to say, I look forward to it. I really look forward to the idea of tinkering with my vehicles, with my ships, doing the unexpected, doing the unintended. These are the things that I love. I know that there's a lot of people who sit there and say, oh, you know, when you see a video of somebody doing something incredible in the game and they go, oh, that's terrible. I hate it when people find ways to exploit the game like that. And of course it's going to get nerfed and blah, 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 blah. I always celebrate it. I always think it's great. Whenever I see somebody discover something that is just utterly unintended, but is just so hilariously broken and other people start replicating it, I love that stuff. Because it's the endless facets of creativity and exploration that I love. You know, I still see videos of people posting, oh, try this build for, you know, Cyberpunk or something like that. And I go, oh, that looks good. I want to try that. Or any number of games. You know, I actually, interestingly enough, you know, just because I started the video with it, I saw a very unusual kind of hybridized combat assassination build for a rogue. And I went, oh, that's very interesting. That's going to be a lot of AoE. I want to kind of explore that. These are the things that I really look forward to, and this is probably one of the more tragic aspects of the whole Squadron 42 problem, is the fact that a lot of these areas that we can explore, we just haven't been able to explore, you know, because we haven't really gotten that foundation laid yet. And it sucks because we can't really explore these ideas. I would love for us to say, oh, you know, I got to go to Grim Hex and I got to build up reputation with Vaughn, because if I get to a certain point with Vaughn, he'll sell me the blueprint or the component for, you know, an annular confinement crystal for my, you know, lasers or whatnot that reduce the rate of fire but up the hitting power, or up the rate of fire and reduce the heat generation. Some, you know, all these different things that you can use to change your ship. I can't wait to get into those things. The idea of sitting in a hangar and just tinkering with the ship for possibly even hours, that's interesting to me. And this is one of the aspects of Star Citizen I wish was manifest. I really, really do. At least perhaps more talking points on where CIG wants to go with this, because I think that it is really an underserviced topic. I know I know what you guys are going to say, and I understand. You can't wait for another Star Citizen Live devoted to the audio team or the people who clean at the new facility in Manchester. I know you can't wait for that. You can't wait for the water animation team. But I would love to hear more about ship customization, even if it's just intents, even if it's just what you're intending to reach for. I would love to see that. You know, I would love to have an episode dedicated to something like that. And then maybe we can hold off for 2 weeks on, you know, a Star Citizen Live devoted to, you know, designing a ship in MS Paint. just my feelings. Now, before I end this video, I kind of want to throw in a little bit of feedback into this 500 million argument, because I've been seeing this, and there are some people making some interesting points about this. The $500 million that CIG has earned to attempt to produce Star Citizen. And I realize that as an individual, as a person, $500 million sounds like a lot of money. And it is a lot of money to a person or to a small business. But when you're a global gaming conglomerate who has yet to produce a game, but fair. But the truth of it is that 500 million sounds like a lot of money, and it really isn't. To kind of bring things all the way very back to the beginning of this video, 2021, arguably one of the worst years for World of Warcraft and Activision Blizzard. And specific to World of Warcraft, subs tanking, everyone dipping out and going to Final Fantasy XIV or endless other MMOs. A hilariously, tragically terrible expansion that was the Shadowlands. So many lessons not learned, and despite beating them over the head with them and just not picking up on it, it was just a travesty of a year. They made $672 million in that 1 year. At its height. And oddly enough, once again, right back to the beginning of this video, during Wrath of the Lich King, World of Warcraft was earning $1.8 billion a year. Billion. $500 million over a decade in the arena that we're talking about is not a lot of money. And I realize that there are very real arguments to be had about how that money is managed and how things have been prioritized. And they are legitimate. And I am not taking away from that. But what I'm saying is that you have to remember that before you just kind of drop that number into the argument and say, oh my God. It's like, $5 might be huge in some parts of the world, but $5 in other parts of the world is something you can find lying on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand? And this is the circle that we're talking about here, right? So, I'm just saying, it sounds like a lot of money. And if you're thinking that somehow CIG is sitting on this and it's all hidden in the bank somewhere, it ain't. Because trust me, if you pay attention to the backgrounds of these videos and the facilities that they're building and the places where they're working, like Los Angeles, they are definitely spending a lot of money. So, food for thought.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.